Hi, I'm Mark Keefe, and welcome to this week's Gun of the Week. We happen to have probably my favorite rifle from World War I, and that's the short magazine Lee-Enfield. This is the Mark III version. Now, this is a gun that was made in 1913 by BSA, and it was made under contract for the Australian government. So you end up with some very, very early features that later on, as World War I went on, the British eliminated. In particular, it has the magazine cutoff. If you see here, of course, this is a 10-round detachable box magazine fed by two 5-round stripper clips. But this cutoff allows you to close it to keep the 10 rounds in the magazine in reserve, and you could single load a single cartridge onto the feedway, fire it. Then, of course, if there were an emergency, say a bunch of Huns charging your trench, you could open up the magazine cutoff and you'd have 10 rounds available. Another feature of the Mark III that you don't see very often on later guns or rebuilt guns are the long-range volley sights. You have to remember, when this gun was adopted initially in 1903 and then sort of sealed in this pattern in 1907, there weren't a lot of machine guns in use at the time. So the British Army, which was very serious about marksmanship, developed these long-range sights, and they're good out to 2,600 yards. And it's intended between the rear sight here and the dial sight so that British riflemen could put a box of fire down on the enemy, literally denying ground to the enemy through rifle fire, which was pretty rapid. You have to remember the Lee-Enfield cocks on close, so it's a very rapid bolt to manipulate. The locking surfaces are here in the back. They're not in the front like a Mauser or a Springfield. So it's a very, very fast action to shoot. The Lee-Enfield family of rifles, of course, starts with a guy named James Paris Lee. He was a Scotsman that immigrated to Canada, became an American gun inventor, and he came up with what we call the detachable box magazine today. In 1888, 1889, the British took his ideas and incorporated them with Metford rifling to get the Lee Metford rifle. And of course, that was a black powder cartridge. And within a few years, they knew cordite was the coming thing. So they changed to 5-groove sharp Enfield rifling, and that's where you get the name Lee-Enfield. Now, there used to be long Lee-Enfields for infantry use and then short carbines for cavalry use. They were combined in 1903 to the short magazine Lee-Enfield. Now, the British had really had the snot shot out of them during the Boer War. The Boers were very good marksmen. They were using clip-loading Mausers. And so the British went to a clip-loading design. You can see the Charger Bridge right here. And also, they trained their guys. The British Army in 1914, when they went to war against the Germans, probably the best trained rifle army in the world. Those guys could really shoot. And the Germans thought they were facing massed machine guns when really it was just well-trained riflemen. So for more on guns like this, vintage rifles, as well as new guns, go to AmericanRifleman.org.